ABC's senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer joining us now from the Buckeye State. Also, my co-anchor Terry Moran joining us here in Washington to talk about this. Devin, let's just start with you. It's not an official ruling yet. This is a draft. But can we assume that this is a done deal when the court does issue a binding decision?
Well, make no mistake, Kira, this is an indication that this is a court eager to overturn Roe versus Wade. There were at least 5 votes for that Justice Alito opinion. But Chief Justice John Roberts a short time ago issued that statement that you mentioned at the top, making clear that this is not the decision and it's not a final decision. It's simply a first draft. And so as this process continues, we do expect a decision to be issued by the court, a binding decision by the end of the term, which is at the end of June. So there's still a couple of months left in this sausage-making process. And we know how this process plays out. I've spoken with the justices about how this goes. They communicate with each other through the exchanging of draft opinions, dissenting opinions, concurring opinions. That can take weeks and months. You'll notice that the Alito draft that we've been talking about makes no mention of the dissent. That's because it hadn't been penned yet. So he'll have to, or whoever writes the majority opinion will have to account for that in the opinion. So there is still some time. Now, one of the things we're going to be watching for is whether this ultimate decision from the court will be a complete overturning of Roe or possibly some sort of middle ground, some sort of threading the needle, a rollback of Roe, if you will. It's not a foregone conclusion which way this is going to go, but certainly an indication in this draft that the court is ready to act big and to roll back Roe versus Wade. Kira?
All right, Terry, you have covered the Supreme Court for decades. Clearly, this is unprecedented. I know that you woke up this late into the night.
Last night.
Right, late last night.
Right. Shocked.
Okay, shocked. Let's get to Chief Justice Roberts, his statement, and then let's talk about this. Here's what he said, because he verified that the draft was authentic. To the extent this betrayal of the confidence of the court was intended to undermine the integrity of our operations, it will not succeed. Okay, let's talk about, number one, how damaging this is to the court. And number two, who the heck leaked this draft? And what will happen? That has to be exposed, right? It's a small group.
It is a small group. That's one thing. Usually in a leak investigation, there might be a lot of people. It's a pretty small group, but that question's harder to answer than the first question. You know, what will this do to the court? John Roberts, he has to say that it won't damage the credibility or integrity of the court's operations, but it does. It does. Externally, it drags them into this, we're just busting down the guardrails of our democracy left and right. Somebody leaks a Supreme Court opinion, it's like Twitter, right? They're in the muck of our politics, and that damages their credibility. Because the only authority the court has, they don't have any police force or anything like that to enforce their decisions. It's the trust and confidence of the American people. This damages that. Internally, as Devin was saying, they circulate opinions among each other all the time. That's the way they talk. They kind of experiment together.
It's a trusted circle.
Yes, what might the law look like? And this, it looks to me like an opening bid. It was dated early February. He did have 5 votes, so somebody said, we got 5, you're going to write the opinion. So he had 5 votes, and he has a maximalist position. This is what we're going to do. Will it end up that way? I mean, now, if it doesn't, or if it does, it's in question. So it damages the integrity of the opinion, the operations of the court, and the internal relationships.
Politics has entered the court. Politics is not supposed to enter this court.
Not so directly and so crassly and so destructively, but that is what's happened here.
So, Devin, let's talk about the politics of this a little bit more. Our ABC News Washington Post poll that came out today shows that the majority of Americans support Roe, say abortion should be legal in most cases and should be left up to a woman and her doctor. It seemed up until now that Republicans had the momentum going into the midterms. Let's talk about this leak and how that could change that and fire up progressives even more.
Well, Kira, there's no question Republicans have the momentum. They'll likely keep the momentum. Those midterm elections are 6 months away. That's a long time. But this development has certainly energized and galvanized progressives just in the last 24 hours. I was just up in Warren, Ohio, meeting with the likely Democratic Senate candidate here in Ohio, an open seat, a big one for Democrats to go after. Tim Ryan, the congressman from Ohio, he told me that it's likely to be a motivator here, even though abortion has not in any way really dominated the primary race so far of either side. But he also said, Kira, I thought something was interesting. He said that, you know, for most women, abortion is sort of an abstract concept. He said, yes, women, and the polling you referred to, every American really, majorities of Americans really support Roe versus Wade and abortion rights, but it's not a pocketbook issue. It's not a day-to-day issue. And so he sort of predicted that economics at the end of the day are going to drive this race. That's really tough for Democrats here. But he said Democrats can try to make the case that abortion is an economic issue as well. And so I think that's one thing we'll watch in the coming weeks to see how Democrats message this as not just about a woman's right to choose and her body, but also an economic issue at this time when so many Americans are focused on their pocketbooks. Kira.
You know, Kira, we're looking at the people up at the court. I was there this morning and this afternoon talking to people, and there was a couple with a little girl. And I just asked them, so it looks like they're going to do this. What do you think? And they were on the pro-abortion rights side. And I said, so what do you think of your daughter growing up? They had her in her arms in a world without this right. And she said, it makes me heartbroken, the mom said. Not that I want her to ever go through that, but I want her to have full control of her life. It makes me think about leaving the country for her. And her dad said, I just can't believe it's actually happening. So Devin's source saying pocketbook issues are what drive elections, especially when they're bad economic times. But I think for a lot of women, there's a shadow falling over their lives and the lives of their daughters today.
We're going to talk, of course, a lot about this throughout the rest of the day, for sure. Devin Dwyer, Terry Moran, thank you both so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.